Hey guys, Rudy here. I got a little free time, so I'm gonna go ahead and do like a reaction thing again with the face cam and the microphone at my desktop. I'm a little more comfortable in my zone, I guess. Turn that down. I want to go over the boomer thing, but I kind of have to find it first. Recording. Is it recording? Yeah, we're recording. So it's this video right here, the When I Die Inside Japan's Death Industry. 24 minutes long. We're gonna go through the whole thing. I saw this a few months back, probably like half a year back, so I don't quite remember what it's about, but we're about to see. It's about the boomer generation in Japan, and let's see, let's just get right into it, guys.
In Japan, funerals are big business. With an aging population and more than 1 million deaths in the country last year, finding a final resting place can be difficult and expensive. But the funeral industry is stepping up to the challenge, finding innovative ways to send their clients into the afterlife.
That dude in the red shirt really looks like Nikocado, especially in the thumbnail. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Nikocado, but look that dude up, he's so funny. Anyway.
I'm Steve Chow. On this episode of 101 East, we take a look at how Japan says its final goodbyes.
Oops. Move it up here. Here we go.
Yuichi Ito and his wife Sumiko spend weekends on their hobby farm in an idyllic part of central Japan.
It's so refreshing being out here, and I'm quite obsessed with nature. We live in a city where it's very stressful. You can plant saplings, water them, and soon you can eat.
And don't worry guys, I'll cut out some boring parts, so it won't be just a video of me watching, just something of me watching a video and not talking. I'll get to the, if it's uninteresting, I'll just cut it out, so don't worry guys.
The Itos live life to the full, but both of them are obsessed with what will happen when they die. You see, the Itos don't have kids. In modern Japan, there's more childless couples and single people than traditional nuclear families. For many Japanese...
Alright, I want to get into it right off the bat. This war against the nuclear family that's been going on probably since the 60s. And really spearheaded by the boomer generation, which would be like the 70 hippies. Anti-child, anti-God. Like, to me, the nuclear disarmament deal with the peace symbol. I went over the peace symbol a few videos ago, and it was the peace symbol represents nuclear disarmament, and it's like it hit me like maybe like a few weeks later, rewatching my video, kind of getting an idea of trying to piece together this nuclear disarmament in its relation to the kind of like disarmament of the nuclear family. Because there's been a war on children since like the 70s, 60s, and 70s, and the boomer generation just bought into it, and it's like every generation after that has bought into it as well. The only place you really see intact families, quote unquote, are like the more red states, and I'm not trying to get political. I'm just stating facts here. The more red states, Bible Belt kind of area, you know, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, it's a joke, Arkansas, etc., Florida. You'll have. And it's really this plan of, I don't know, like, and I can get into it a little deeper. I just gotta stay focused. All right, let's keep watching. I gotta write something down. So
with death difficult.
Normally when you have a child, he will look after the parents when they die. Because we have no children.
Which is bullshit.
What is going
Hold
to
on.
happen when I read?
No, first of all, you need to get the fuck away from your parents and go live your life. Like your parents, for instance, your parents have all their lives to get their shit together and kind of prepare themselves to die. Like, prepare themselves to be alone, prepare themselves to die alone, like mentally, like psychologically and physically prepare themselves for that inevitability. To me, that's what life is. You're supposed to be preparing yourself mentally and physically for, I'm just gonna say this, being nailed on the cross. And it's like, once you're nailed on the cross, you die alone. Like, you die alone no matter what. So you should be spending your lifetime preparing yourself mentally for that. So this stupid idea of you have children so they'll take care of you in old age is so I don't know, so destructive, because it's been absolutely destructive, and it's really bad in Japan. It's everywhere. It's in the United States, but from what I can tell, just by going off their TV shows alone, because my wife and I watch a lot of Korean dramas. I've mentioned that before, Japanese dramas, and it's the same motifs of the children feel bad because they can't take care of mama, or they're not doctors. They're not making the big bucks. That way they set themselves up to take care of their stupid parents. But their stupid parents are supposed to set themselves up. They're adults. And they're no different from you and me. So it's absolute horse shit that this ridiculous idea, this fucking boomer ass idea that you have children so they'll take care of you when you're older. Because it's just insanity to me.
Tired. We decided that we need to start preparing now.
Some people in Japan live until they're 100 years old. You're both in your 40s. Why are you so concerned
They're millennials.
about finding
What the heck?
the right memorial?
In their 40s? Excuse me?
Some of my
Late
friends
40s
died
maybe?
in
Gen
their 20s
Xers?
and 30s. Life expectancy may be
Let me
The
rewind
right
that.
memorial.
I'll be quiet.
Some of my friends died in their 20s and 30s. Life expectancy may be long in Japan, but people die young. Times are changing. We've got to adapt. In the past, everyone had a job with an increasing salary, which paid for your funeral. You lived near your family. That doesn't happen anymore. If it did, we wouldn't have to think about shukatsu.
Shukatsu? What the hell is that?
Shukatsu
Okay.
is a new phenomenon that the elderly have embraced. It means preparing for the end. And all across Japan, they come in their thousands to funeral expos like this one.
Oh my god, Al Jazeera. Guys, I just realized it's Al Jazeera that reported on this. I don't have to say anything. Like, do I have to say anything?
Lining up for his first expo, Yuichi is excited.
You're in their
First of all,
40s, by
I'm
the way.
curious what kind of people are
Dude,
coming here.
these people look like they're in their 50s. What did they do? Are they like chain smokers? Oh my god. This bitch has a fucking catcher's mitt for a face. Man.
Also, I heard various kinds of companies are here today, so I'm looking forward to seeing something I'm not expecting.
Talking about death used to be taboo in Japan. Now it's a passionate pursuit.
Look at these, man, look at this.
Since the word shukatsu came out, we can now start talking about funerals openly among healthy people. When you are on your deathbed, everyone has that moment when you think about things that really matter. That's what shukatsu means to me. It's an extended time like that moment to contemplate life's important decisions.
What a waste of a life, man. Like, do I even have to get into it? You just sit around all day. I mean, you're supposed to be living day by day and taking in the moment. So it's like, it's unbelievable to me. But this is the fucking boomer mentality and their descendants, like Gen Xers, Gen Yers, Gen Zers, millennials. They've all been brainwashed with this crap.
First up is a 1-hour lecture called Writing and Ending Notebook. It's much like a will, but there's a
Sweet
personal
Jesus.
aspect as well. You write in detail about your legacy and reflect on your very existence.
Oh my god. Hold on, pause real quick. What did that word mean? I guess I don't have to cut this out. What was that word that they said? If it gets too long, cut it out. Shukatsu.
Shukatsu is a new phenomenon that the elderly have embraced.
Boomers embraced it.
It means preparing.
Okay, prepare for the
the
end. I just needed to get that in my head. which you can't do.
You're on your
Like you can get in a car wreck and die tomorrow, you know? You can't prepare for the end. It's impossible. Do you think Jesus' ass knew he was going to get put on the damn cross at 33? Maybe.
deathbed. Contemplate
It's like a will. But there's a
we go.
personal aspect as well.
To keeping a journal.
You write in
Do
detail.
you really need to go to a
about your
seminar
legacy
about this shit?
and reflect on your very existence.
ありましたね、たくさんありましたね、それは。
There was a lot to write down.
Of
I've
course.
never looked back my past or my childhood really.
Wow.
I
So,
learned today that by thinking back how my life had been, I should adjust.
you should be reflecting, man. Like,
That's how I treat myself,
I don't want to have to pause every freaking 10 seconds.
my family, and people around me.
It's
When I get
insane.
home, I'm going to start writing my.
I can see why I wanted to do this now. There's a reason I wanted to do this, and this is the reason, because it's like I completely forgot what this video was about. I'm so glad I didn't rewatch it.
ending note.
Vendors are here
They
to
even got
cash
their
in
little
on
icons.
an industry worth $5 billion a year.
It's all about marketing, baby.
Funeral-related companies
They're like sleazy insurance salesmen, dude. Like, this is unbelievable to me. Like, it's believable. Like, I believe it, right? Because, man, human beings are just, it don't matter what your culture is, what your race is, what your color is. Like, all human beings just go through this shit. The mythology, the archetypes. It's like, what in the world, man? It's just amazing to me. I want my little plaque to show up. Whatever. Y'all like my plaque? It says, that one right there says, life is better with a cat. And it's a black cat. And it's watching me all the time. Isn't that amazing?
quadrupled in Japan. And
Quadrupled.
some
Hold
of
on.
them relate $1 billion a year. In
I'm gonna
just
try
a
not to talk.
decade, funeral-related companies have quadrupled in Japan. And some of them have innovative ideas. The Itos have found one company that shoots ashes into space
Oh my God.
with the help of America's space agency.
So it goes
NASA.
nowhere.
宇宙飛行プランとか、人工衛星
So you basically shoot that shit into the ocean?
プランとかいろんな形がありましてですね、宇宙飛行プラン
How
というのは
appropriate.
簡単に言えば宇宙に散骨するイメージです。
I mean, imagine your soul resting in peace knowing that your ashes are just getting shot into the ocean. Good lord.
はい。
はい
で人工衛星プランっていうのは文字通り、宇宙にお墓を作るイメー
Look
ジ
at the way they're being like
あ、そんなのが
marketed to, dude.
あの
This is
人工衛星プラン
insane.
に関してはもう240年ぐらいずっと地球の衛星軌道を回り続けるという形
And they're so happy about it. Like,
あの
And it only costs around $6,000.
wow.
これあれですか。これもう日本人、先ほどなんか2人。
These dudes are so into it. Can you send your cats up there too?
今現在3名の方ですかね、もう打ち上げ決定しておりまして。
This is insane.
すっごい。
Keep nodding
そうすると
schmuck.
やっぱ生前予約の方が非常に多いですから、今20数名の方生前予約いただ
Look
い
at
て
this lady.
なるほど、すごい。
Yuichi likes the thought of having his ashes scattered across the galaxy.
やっぱり
They're not being scattered though. They're going on an orbit, right? He just said that.
Worry our stone graves would suffer neglect when we are gone. We wouldn't worry if our
Hold on.
ashes. Worry our stone graves would suffer neglect when we are gone.
Who cares?
We wouldn't worry if our ashes were in space. I thought it would be millions of yen, but space is getting closer to us.
Space is all around you
Space.
right now,
It is
actually.
It's not the
You
ground.
were surrounded by
Not
space. Do you
quite
not
the
realize that?
It's interesting.
You fucking chud.
はい。
But Sumiko hasn't dismissed the more down-to-earth
Good. Maybe she's
options.
got some damn sense.
で、蓋も閉められちゃうんですよね。
On me. Look at how these people identify. Man, look at how these people identify themselves as material. It's freaking, it's insanity, man. How many times do I have to say that?
She has her eye on a coffin. One of the most popular booths
I want
today.
to take a nap in that thing.
どう寝心地は。
I like enclosed spaces. Like, maybe not that. It's a little too far. Oh my god, it's a window!
なんか楽しいですね。
It's amazing. This is fun. Like once I used to sleep on a couch, but it was two couches pressed together. So I had like couch heads on either side of me. It was super comfortable. I loved it. It was like the best sleep I ever got. Kind of similar to this, only a little wider.
Masamune Kirihara
Masamune.
has been helping potential customers of
Look at
all
it,
ages
Nikakato.
all day.
Oh my god. It's the guy.
So with some guidance, I decide to give it a try myself.
You're American, dude. You're not gonna fit.
Hands like that or like that?
Like
or
this, like this,
like
yeah.
this, all right. So what do people look for when they're buying a coffin?
First, when you get inside the coffin, people look for patterns and check the thickness of the padding. When you try it,
Why does
many
that
people
matter?
often imagine what their death is like. They realize their
It's eternal
regrets in life.
nothingness.
Another-
You know how I talk about the Black Mirror guys and like it's a void surrounding us? It's the same thing, only that's death. So we're experiencing death right now. Hope y'all know that.
reason why people try this coffin, it
Sound
is
like you
said
said white
to
people
extend
first.
your
Yeah.
life.
So what makes this coffin better than that coffin?
Okay. 一つは
The padding is better.
こういった刺
The
繍が
embroidery is more colorful.
こうドーム型になってて
The lid is dome shaped.
This shit is so superficial, man.
And the window is bigger too.
というところが違います
Does it matter when you're dead in the
This
ground?
is one weird opportunity to try before you die.
Has the death industry in
Try before you
Japan
die.
become more commercialized?
These slogans, man. Oh my god, like words are spellcraft, right? It don't matter if it's Latin or English or Japanese. You speak things onto yourself, and what he just said was just like just cursing your being. Try before you die. Holy shit, man.
Too much, perhaps?
営利主義かどうかはちょっとわからないけれども
I'm not sure if commercialized is the right word,
That is
but
the
we couldn't
right
display
word.
coffin at events like this before.
Really?
Now we can. It's not to do with money. Instead,
okay.
it shows people's
Uh-huh.
attitudes are changing.
Why can't they just be honest?
With so much choice, the traditional funeral homes are under threat.
Good. Called capitalism, baby.
99% of Japanese are cremated.
Probably has a lot to do with the space they have, huh?
That's where traditional funeral director Satoshi Takeda comes in.
お棺をこちらの
We put
It's
the
really
coffin
clean
here.
for a freaking
Then the bereaved
furnace.
family join their hands together in prayer.
And they polish that
After
shit for the
that,
cameras too.
We'll close this door.
It's still got stains and smudge on it and stuff.
こちらにご遺骨
The ashes come from the back of the oven.
ですと
Hey.
I tell the family where the important body parts are, like the femur and pelvis.
お箸を使い
Then one family member picks the ashes up with these chopsticks,
足
starting
元
where the
大
feet
腿
were.
骨です骨盤です、胸骨です頭蓋
The
骨、
interesting ritual.
こちら説明をしていただきますし
Mr. Takeda and 300 other employees at this funeral company, Kyoto Kokisha, take a traditional approach to commemorating death. Today, the altar is being prepared for an afternoon ceremony. From the flowers to the bamboo decorations, everything has to be perfect.
お家お家によって家紋というのがありますので
One important aspect to funerals
That's
is
cool.
displaying the family's crest.
I
Our
like the
services
calligraphy.
feature Shinto Buddhist rites. The altar has to be right in the center. We check to make sure the placement of things is perfectly symmetrical.
This is like a
This funeral
warehouse
company
somewhere.
has been in existence since 1938. Their 8 funeral halls hold more than 6,000 ceremonies a year. A proper send-off is important in Japanese culture,
Not anymore. They'll send your ass to space for
but it
6,000.
is also expensive.
Gotta compete, man.
Mr. Takeda thinks it will be even tougher to succeed in the future. Because even supermarkets are offering cheap funeral
What?
plans.
Wow.
You see ads on the internet for funerals that cost $80. Outsider companies are providing cheaper and cheaper funerals. I think Japan's aging problem will burden the funeral business. They'll become simpler because of the cost.
You had a good run.
So Mr. Takeda is offering some inventive alternatives in the company showroom.
Oh yeah.
You can put the ashes in these bracelets
that's pretty
and
cool.
lockets to honor the memory of your loved one.
But what happens after it, though?
Costs $100.
For instance, you can turn your ashes into a jewel. Like, what happens if the receiver like dies, or like what happens to that? It's like, in a way, that's. I mean, I understand the gesture, but in a sense, it's kind of pointless as well. I'm just saying.
It suits those who have to travel a lot for work and can't pray at the family temple.
The Virgin Mary, really? This is cool looking.
Burying ashes in a graveyard is now a luxury. The country is running out of space for the dead. And that's driving up the cost of burials.
I think there was a joke on
cemetery for
man, what cartoon was it? It might have been The Critic, where they make a joke about blasting the poor off to space. Yeah, it was The Critic. I remember that. I'll see if I can find the clip.
Log ride that makes you look like you wet your pants. And now the creator of the Fat Little Pig, Miss Eleanor Sherman.
I just want you to know that all the proceeds from this ride go to the Eleanor Sherman Foundation for blasting the poor into space.
We want the pig! Example. The average price for a plot of land, not the headstone, just the plot of land, is at least $40,000.
Wow, Jesus Christ.
The problem is only going to get worse.
40K for like a, what, like 6 by 6 foot
1.2 million
plot of land?
people died in Japan last year. That figure will keep rising until 2042.
Oops.
The aging population is forcing Japan's old ways to change. And those who house the dead realize they have to adapt.
You know what it is, though? Because the boomer generation's the biggest generation in every country, so the boomer generation is dying off, and that's what's causing the issue. And people are dying young for some reason, but that's like sacrifice on purpose, in my opinion. Like, these people don't, how do I put it? The creeps don't care how many people die, so it's like young, old, it don't matter. It's like it's all ritual in the end.
Inside this modern building is a skyscraper graveyard. Priest Ohora runs it. He says old temples usually store 100 urns and are private.
Was it like owning a P.O. box?
But this temple welcomes anyone and everyone.
The Buddha.
How many urns are there in this building right now?
We can accept 10,000 urns. This temple was only completed last year. It only has 10% occupancy so far.
Nice.
On every floor is a row of high-tech crypts.
Oh yeah.
To visit, you swipe your ID card, which prompts robotic arms to retrieve the family urn from the basement.
Imagine a robot picking up your ashes so they show it to your family.
Then a photo of your loved one appears.
That's cool. I can't imagine the shitstorm. It's the wrong person.
One box can hold 1 to 8 urns.
Just rotate them out, man.
These new temples are getting so popular in Japan that many people are closing their ancestral graves in the countryside and storing their ashes here.
First in, first out, baby.
One married couple did it because their children lived in the city and never came to visit them out there.
Oh, that's so
when
sad.
they die,
Not really.
they hope their children will come to worship them here.
Worship them. I don't know if that's lost in translation, but worship's kind of a a strange language, strange vocabulary to use.
Just down the road, there's another mega high-tech family crib with plenty of space for the departed.
Wow, it's quite impressive. There's over 2,000 Buddha statues in this temple, so we've got to find out just where...
It's like a holographic statue thing. That's neat.
Blinking one over there.
Means the batteries need changing. You know when your fire alarm starts beeping?
Each family urn is stored directly behind the wall, where the Buddha flashes. Family members can then pray towards it, because they believe the soul of the departed is in the Buddha. Priest Daito's old temple was only supported by 13 families. After turning it into a modern mausoleum, he has bookings for memorials every day. Today, the anniversary of a man's death is being commemorated by his wife.
Anniversary? Your death anniversary?
There's no shortage of prayers, holiness and reverence. It's quite beautiful.
The big temples have 100 families supporting them, but I know many small temples with financial difficulties. I think more and more temples who keep the old methods will shut down if they can't secure an income through funerals.
What do you worry about?
Start charging for
memorial
admittance.
services here don't really connect people with their religion. They just think it's appropriate to pay for a priest who chants a prayer they don't understand.
It might be the case,
is not
actually.
a service you pay for.
I don't know. To a lot of people, it is. And they look like they're stuck in like the early 2000s when it comes to like the kind of clothes they wear.
Some of the things we've seen so far are unique, to say the least. But
Japan there's a camera
is
there.
very much a conservative country.
Those
and I'm
girls.
interested to hear what some of the more traditional voices have to say about the changing times.
Look at the camera. Oh, it's a camera. Wow. Everyone gets so excited. Were cameras not common back then or something?
Runs a small traditional temple. He says most temples know funerals aren't a guaranteed income anymore. He keeps his doors open by running tea and meditation sessions for tourists.
I wonder if the modern temples you saw the other day really adhere to Buddhist values.
You know they don't.
I don't think doing memorials for your ancestors mean it's a Buddhist celebration. Japan has a very strained understanding of what death is. You could call it funeral Buddhism. Some people believe Buddhism is only for funerals, but that's wrong.
When it comes to society's attitudes, he is surprisingly pragmatic.
I wonder whether it's truly bad for Buddhism. Maybe it's time to change our way of thinking. For me, it's not important to keep the old historical temples open. That can't be helped in Japan. The most important issue is how Buddhism as a religion continues. As it can't be helped in Japan. The most important issue is how Buddhism as a religion continues.
I thought Buddhism was more of a lifestyle. Like I said, might be lost in translation a little bit.
Traditional or high-tech, shooting into space or interred in ancestral sites. There's now so much choice that finding the perfect resting place in Japan can seem overwhelming. Luckily, there's a club on hand to help make that final decision. With branches across Japan, it's called the Ending Centre. This weekend, they are holding grave tours at a local cemetery for baby boomers and the elderly.
Of course.
Sociologist Haruo
Because
Inoue
baby boomers would
runs
fall for
the Ending
anything.
Centre.
You can sell them
She wants
anything.
them to consider one more option, a new way of burial called jumokuso. It's where several families are buried together under a cherry blossom tree.
Jumokuso conserves space in our towns, and many people can inhabit the one grave space. That's suitable for the future society, because gravestones and temples have become meaningless to many people.
Just something for the mother to like lord over the children and the father and the grandchildren, to be like, if you don't do what I say, you know, you don't get space at the whatever. So what was it called again? Yeah, whatever, you know what I mean, the grave space. You can't be next to me or some bullshit like that. You know that shit happens, man. That's what Hispanic mothers do. And it's like Hispanic mothers and Japanese mothers, it's whatever. It's the same vibe I get off these women.
Haruo believes tree burials are a viable solution for the challenges facing Japan.
I mean, it's a neat idea.
This is one of their finished plots, where 30 people are buried. It's quiet, peaceful, and only costs $2,000 per person.
That's a hell of an investment. You have to wait till someone dies before you get
money to maintain the grave.
To get the money.
You enter the soil and go back
I guess you pay ahead of time, right?
Without troubling anyone. No one has to maintain the graves. That's why our service is becoming more popular.
Those who will be sharing a plot get to know each other before the inevitable.
Oh, strangers?
Organised by the ending centre.
Oh my god. I take back what I said a while ago.
Not as a traditional undertaker or a temple. We're a member of a family. We call them Hakatomo, which means grave friends. It's a cooperative, like an apartment building. Each person or family has a registered section of the plot. When someone on the plot dies, everyone on the plot helps at the memorial.
It's all for those lonely boomers who don't have children, or they chase their children off. That's what really happens, though. It's like, oh, my child moved into the city. No, you fucking chased him off. Like, just admit it.
They have dinner parties,
trying to get away from your ass.
Even photo sessions.
Haruyo is on hand to help.
We are taking portraits for the funeral when they die.
She advises them to smile and not be solemn. The key is to be yourself.
It's like when you go to the DMV.
Photo shoots like these are popular across Japan. Another way, people are taking ownership of their own death.
It's so weird. This is gonna seem kind of strange to bring up, but it's so weird to see so many people like in a YouTube video with asymmetrical teeth. So I get so used to like seeing people with like perfect teeth all the time.
People come to sessions like this just once. Others come every year. But it's not because they think they will die soon. They just want a more up-to-date photo in their records every year, so that they have the latest photo when it happens.
Japan is often seen as a culturally traditional country, adhering to age-old customs. But when it comes to the final rituals of life, there's no doubt things are changing.
When I die, I'd like to rest under the cherry blossoms in a Jumokuso grave and go back to the soil.
I'm made of dirt and I'll die in the dirt.
Perhaps it's driven by social change, economic pressure, or just the rise of the individual. The bottom line is now everyone in Japan is making their own choice about their final goodbye. Old family
they're just given
are no longer the only option.
Different
Not
choices.
even, it seems, for those who work there.
When I die, I'd like to have a funeral with just families and friends. I don't think I'll have a funeral held here. So I'd like to have a funeral without imposing a load on a bereaved family.
The Itos are still exploring. they don't know yet what kind of funeral they want. Their plan for now is to stay fit and active, to give them more time to decide.
When I die, I know I want all my friends to come and enjoy themselves. The family funerals we've had in the past have been full of relatives and loved ones. The local priest was often jovial. I want my funeral to be a relaxed one, not so formal one.
Their journey continues, but it's better than ignoring death. The Itos want to get it right. After all, you only die once.
Ooh. Anyway, that's it, guys. Foreboding, I guess, but it's just really highlights the mentality of the baby boomer generation, because it's like, I don't know, it's like they're just so wrapped up in being in this material realm, and it's like you and I both know, people that are watching, it's like it's not about this physical place, it's not about that. I want to talk about one more thing, and it's kind of semi-related to what I was talking about at the beginning of the video. What's this idea of entire generations, like of people getting married and not having children, and all done on purpose, because like since the 60s and 70s there's been this anti-child kind of movement where it's like, oh, you can't have children until you're financially stable, and you got to have X amount of dollars and Y amount of land, or you got to have a house first, or whatever. And it's like, before you know it, you're a 40-year-old woman, you know, your body's old, your eggs are dried up, and it don't matter so much for the men, to be honest. You can be a 40-year-old man and get a woman pregnant and not have to worry about putting the child's life in danger, or if had an autism or anything like that, because I believe it's women over like 30, 35 that have a higher risk for the child having some kind of ailment like retardation or autism. And that's just the facts. And I don't know, I don't have the statistics memorized or anything like that, but it is what it is, and it's there, and it's a real possibility. So you got entire generations of girls growing up, propagated by the hippies, you know, boomer generation, the generation before that, who convinced entire generations of girls that it's their body, their choice. And I'm not trying to get political, like I said, but it's like they were liberated by by a couple of things, for better or for worse. The pill gave them a lot of autonomy. For instance, tampons, things like that. Cars is a big one. Women driving is a big one. And I'm not saying women shouldn't drive, I'm just saying it gave them more autonomy, therefore it inflated the ego. And it happened to all people, right? All men and women. But I'm saying women in particular kind of took the brunt of that responsibility, because they got into it suddenly. How do I put it? Women had responsibility. Women had kind of more bodily autonomy. Am I saying that right? They had more controls over their bodies with the Plan B pill and birth control, condoms, etc. And this is all from the hippie movement, women's liberation, etc. And I guess I'll just say it like this: the big question of, I'm gonna pose a question, so I'm just gonna say it. You can pause the video, think about it for a minute. How do you cull a population without bloodshed? Okay, pause the video, think about it. You convince them to cull themselves, and I don't know if you're familiar with family planning, that institution, but it was founded by a white supremacist. It was founded by Margaret Sanger, birth control pioneer. It says it right there. And from what I understand, she was a confirmed like kind of white supremacist type who was trying to cull the Latino and the black population in the United States. And the way you get them to, without any blood, the way you do it without bloodshed is to convince entire generations that this nonsense, like feeding them this nonsense of the big one is my body, my choice, obviously, but it's like the big players in this have been birth control, you know, Plan B, whatever, and all that good stuff. So you convince women about all that and women's liberation and all that, and you got the perfect storm for a second Massacre of the Innocents to happen. And what we're going through now is essentially, in spirit, it is the Massacre of the Innocents, which when I looked it up, I couldn't believe it, because it's like, it's a very small part of the Bible, like, and I don't know where I heard this from, where I got this idea in my head, but I realized that it's on my phone actually. I had a discussion about this probably years ago, before I even woke up, quote unquote. You can see the date right here, 2019. I think I forgave my father by that point. I hadn't forgiven my mother, but I was still very aware of this dynamic, so to speak. I'm just going ahead and read off what I put. I had a thought about abortion and why it's pushed as a women's rights topic. I can't help but draw parallels with eugenics and the Massacre of the Innocents in the Bible. Whether or not one believes that Massacre of Innocents is a fabrication or historically accurate, or a historically accurate one, has to agree that the resemblance to modern day practices is uncanny. Even the attack on men lines up with the idea that all male children must be slaughtered, or in the modern day case of feminization, weaken the men to weaken the nation. What's funny about this is actually before the transgender thing really got out of control. Convince entire generations of women that they don't need men and that their bodies are sacred. Teach little boys to worship their mothers instead of worshiping God. Convince women that they're equals and set them on the path to be wed to their government instead of their husbands. Talking about the welfare state and the implications of that. Teach them to raise their sons to be weak and feminine. We're already going through that now, so maybe I predicted that or something. Maybe that's a bit too conspiracy theory, but it's been on my mind for months now. These are some very odd connections, and I'd like to hear your thoughts. And I don't think he even said anything to that. It's an old friend of mine. We don't really talk anymore, but that's cool. I wish him the best. And the Massacre of Innocents, old biblical story about, it's also called the Slaughter of the Innocents. The Gospel of Matthew 2:16 to 2:18, so it's very short. There's a king by the name of Herod the Great of Judea orders the execution of all male children who are 2 years old and under in the vicinity of Bethlehem. Christians venerate them as the first Christian martyrs. The majority of Herod biographers and probably a majority of biblical scholars hold the event to be a myth or legend. And it's like, but that's what's going on in the modern day. And from what I understand, Herod the Great, King Herod, giving him too many accolades here, but that's his name. He had sent on his soldiers to stain the rivers red with children's blood, essentially. I know I may have heard that from somebody, I'm just repeating it. But I hadn't heard about this and since I was a kid, and I don't know, that story just stuck with me for some reason. And from what I understand, he was attempting to prevent Jesus Christ from being born. And that's what's happening now. Like, literally, that's what's happening now, especially when it comes to feminizing men, the abortion thing's out of control, the statistics for black abortions specifically is insane on a yearly basis. Abortion, women of color, bigger picture, women of color. So according to this website, 38.4% of all reported abortions in the United States in 2019 were performed on black women. However, only 13% of the total population is black. And I'm bringing up blacks for a specific reason, because like I said, this demon woman Margaret Sanger put these birth control institutions in, they call it family planning now, or Planned Parenthood. This set up these locations in ghettos and barrios, essentially, like in the places where there are going to be blacks and Hispanics. And from what I can remember, she considered them like pests, like non-human, essentially. If they weren't white, they're a non-human. You and I both know it's ridiculous. Even though I don't believe in the racism narrative, the word racism is just a made-up term to separate and divide and conquer. It is what it is. Like, she had her own feelings about what she thought about blacks and Latinos, and she was just a demon. She's a monster. That makes her a monster because she didn't see them as people. And this Massacre of the Innocents thing is happening right now in real time. This abortion issue is just, it's out of control, guys. He said he even murders his 3 own sons. Like, how afraid do you have to be that you're going to get overthrown by a bigger male, essentially? And it's speculated whether or not it's true. So what happened before? What preceded the Massacre of the Innocents is Harold basically sent his wise men to go find Jesus. You know, he was destined to be the King of Jews. I'm just going to read. When they heard the king, they departed, and behold, the star in which they had seen in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceedingly great joy, and when they came into the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented gifts to him, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Then, being divinely warned in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed to their own country. So Herod was deceiving his wise men. He was basically saying, find out where this child is and bring him back to me, his whereabouts, so I can worship him properly. And that's not what he was going to do, obviously. But they double-crossed him, essentially. It was like a double whammy. Now when they departed, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, take the young child as his mother, flee to Egypt, and stay there until I bring you word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child to his mother by night and departed for Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, and it might be fulfilled that he was spoken by the Lord through the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt I called my son. Here we go, Massacre of the Innocents. Then Herod, when he saw that he was deceived by the wise men, was exceedingly angry. He sent forth and put to death all the male children who were in Bethlehem and in all its districts, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had determined from the wise men. Then was fulfilled what spoke by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, A voice was heard by Ramah, lamentation, weeping, and great mourning. Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted because they were no more. And I think there's some, let's keep reading. Now when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, Arise, take the young child to his mother, and go to the land of Israel. And for those who sought the young child's life are dead. Then he arose, took the young child and his mother, and came into the land of Israel. I wonder how much time passed. But anyway, this little bit right here, Rachel, it was like Rachel was weeping for her children. That basically means she was weeping for her descendants, right? Because when you kill all the male children in an area, they're all linked to their parents. So, and they're trying to say, because the Bible is hyperlinked in a big way. So when Rachel was weeping for her children, she was weeping for the future slaughter of those children. And that's what we're going through now, in my opinion, too. I hadn't really thought about that until now, and it makes a whole lot of sense. It makes a ton of sense now, because there should be, like, these people, these demons that are, like, killing their child in the womb, and they should be weeping for their future children, because it's like this is just, this is murder and mayhem on another level, in my opinion. Just the allegory and the metaphor and the archetype that are just playing out in real time in the world is just incredible. Like, it's just unbelievable to me. But I think that's all, guys. I think that's all I have to say about this. If I got any more to add, I'll just add an audio recording later and just, you know, edit it in like I always do. I just want to look at the art really quick. Kind of like a Beelzebub, not Beelzebub, what's that thing called where it's like a mass of bodies? I mean, how weak were the men where some soldiers just come into your house and slaughter your son your newborn sons. It's crazy. I mean, that really speaks to thinking about how weak the men must have been then to even let that happen, compared to how weak the men are in today's age. And it's like nobody's standing up for the innocents. It's just women are just being absolutely, they're just buying into this in the same way that these boomers can be sold anything. It's like the women can be sold anything, the men can be sold anything. So the generation doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter like a baby boomer or Gen X or millennial or even the Zoomers. They're gonna buy into it too. And it's like I'm not saying it's hopeless, but all we can do is focus on ourselves, guys. Like have fellowship, like talk with each other, leave comments in my videos, and let's talk about these things, because you know that I'm open to new ideas, and I'm willing to talk about anything with no fear. Anyway, I think that's all, guys. Have a nice day.